See, so I'm listening to it through the headphones. All the garbage noise of the box is coming in basically like mono. It's coming in left and right in my ear equally, okay? So all the garbage noise. When the word Lucy is said, it came in stronger with a different EQ only in my left ear. What I'm trying to say is I think that was put in post-production, which is another accusation.
Really interesting. I have something else to say on that.
Mm-hmm.
When I first watched this, I watched it on a regular normal device, probably with mono and stereo and whatever else, right? As I'm sitting here listening to you, what I found, and I didn't hear anything, because what I wrote down was that they could have been saying anything, and this guy's like, there are 7 people.
Yeah.
Their name's Lucy.
Oh, most of the time
I didn't
you
hear
can't
anything.
even hear anything.
All I heard was distortion, right? Listening to it here, and so maybe it's the way you have, because I must be listening to how you have your mixer wired, right? I very clearly heard the 7 and the Lucy. So I didn't have the same thought you did, because I don't have the technical background you have. You know, I'm a banking guy. But my first thought was, why did I understand so clearly this time the 7 and the Lucy, which I did not understand at all before? In fact, I kept rewinding it rewind, if that's the right term, going backwards to hear it before, because I couldn't hear anything, and I even wrote down here, that why did he have to be the one to run it, and why did he have to translate everything if it's this amazing invention?
Yeah, and it reminds me, my funny joke for the show that I said that I was going to put on the podcast here is that when you're watching it, him interact with this box, it reminds me of Han Solo and Chewbacca, where Han Solo speaks to Chewbacca, and Chewbacca's like, rah, 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 and then Han Solo be like, oh, Chewie said he's hungry or something. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's the Frank's box. You just hear like,
really good analogy.
Spirit box, how many of you are there? There's 7. You know, he tells you what the box just said is what it reminds me of. But I think in post-production some things were dropped in there. Story. Yeah, he looks like But I do think some things just to make the show like that Lucy. I think that was edited in. When it said demon, I did not. This is like my 4th time tonight watching this. I hear nothing when he says demon. But
I didn't hear anything, and I could not even tell. And that was another point I had to rewind. I couldn't even tell what they were saying. I had to wait, because then at this point they come back after commercial break and they replay that whole scene again. So I rewound it a couple of times to hear what they were saying. I had no idea what they were saying. And then when they came back from the commercial break, I could finally understand. I didn't understand the box say it, but I understood Chris and Ryan say it. I thought they were saying beam, like a beam of light or something. I'm like, well, what the hell's a beam? And now after I listened a little further, I realized they were saying demon.
Yeah.
So, I never heard that box. The other thing I thought was really strange about that box, first of all, his explanation of that box to me was a lot like, it made no sense.
Yeah.
It goes through this echo chamber and this and that, like the Grand Canyon's inside the box. And then the other thing that was really strange was how oddly loud it was. It's almost like that box had its own microphone. And again, I'm not a technical expert that you are, but how does that box come in so loudly? I'm not going to say loudly and clearly, because it doesn't, but how does that come in so loudly, like they had a microphone attached to it? And I thought that was odd too, which made me think, I have different reasons for thinking it, but it made me think that they had spliced in some distortion after the fact.
Well, I don't know if I do think I really do think I think the box is just that loud. I think that when you're using boom mics on the set, the boom mics are so stinking sensitive. If you aim a boom mic at that box, it's going to pick up pretty loud. But I do think, like I said, just now on my headphones, the way that the noise from the box was coming through the headphones, and then suddenly when the word Lucy came through the box, it was separate from the rest of the noise. It was clearly separate.
Well, it's certainly interesting that I didn't hear it after rewinding it a couple times when I watched it, but I could very clearly hear it here over the phone. So you're right, there must have been something recorded on another channel. Now, I don't know how that works.
So, but let's also say this. What was the most important thing there that came out of the initial showing of the Frank's box for the show? What was the most important part that was discovered?
The most important part of the show that was discovered?
What was the most important thing discovered by talking to the viewer when you're watching the show? What was the most important discovery that the Frank's box apparently tells them during that little segment?
That there was a woman named Lucy who was trapped by a demon?
Right, because what we said was a minute ago was
right.
Chip says you're going to have, like, they're stuck here, this is their prison, you're going to have to save them. And it's like, well, save them from what? Why are they trapped here? Why does it feel like a prison? Save them from what? Oh, guess what? The box just told us there's a demon. Like, the story keeps moving along and everything keeps fitting. But that was, gosh, man, that's the thing. Like, that was, you look back at this now and you realize it, but at the time, boy, it was always just like, oh man, like they go on it's just like they always go to these interesting places and just like, it's amazing. It's amazing the storyline. So it's like, well, if you develop the storyline before you shoot anything, it's always going to be amazing. And that's kind of what I'm getting at here.
This goes back to what we were saying about Blood Red Sky in episode 2 of Chad Kalick. Your mind can do and feel anything it wants to do and feel. You know, if you set yourself up with the expectation that you're going to hear a loud thud, when you put yourself in a completely quiet room, guess what you're going to hear? A loud thud.
Yep.
You know, I just felt like, I agree with you. I felt like they were hearing flight, the most random small things, and they were using it to fit their narrative. And since it fit their narrative, the gullible listener or gullible viewer is going to go, oh, shit, look at that.
Yep.
It's spot on. And that's what makes the show successful.
Now, I'm going to skip ahead a little bit here just to let everybody know what we're skipping over in the episode. We're skipping past, basically, at that point, they go and do an investigation. So that night, they basically walk through Chip, Ryan, and the spirit box guy walk through the downstairs basement again with the Frank's box. It's making noise. The one thing I thought was interesting that kind of stuck out to me, there's a clip that for absolutely no reason, Chip says, "I have holy water." And it's like it's just shoved in there for no reason, but it's just like Chip's letting us know for no reason. He's just like, I have my holy water, right? So then a few minutes later, it cuts to a scene where like they think there's a bad presence. So Chip starts spraying the holy water, and then the spirit box, apparently it's the demon, and it says, "F that holy water." And it's the only thing. It's the only thing that happens that night. So like the funny is like if Chip doesn't say, "I have my holy water," then like. It doesn't make sense what happens, you know, like then it's almost like, because if you take that out, it's like, why is Chip spraying? What is Chip spraying? Is he spraying perfume? And it's like, they probably even realize, like, you know what, we kind of didn't mention, like, we see you on camera spraying that stuff, Chip, but like, since we didn't mention that it was holy water, no one's going to know what you're spraying, so we need to, like, let's just go put you back in the tunnel, and we just need you to say, "I have holy water," so we can put that in. Like, that, to me, that's exactly what's going on there. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
I also have to say that, I mean, I've been Catholic my whole life, and a pretty devout Catholic for at least most of that part of it, right? I know lots about the church. I've studied the church. I've never once seen one single human being put holy water into a spray bottle and spray it.
Really? Is that the first? I mean, I didn't. You watch these shows, you don't know what's weird and what isn't weird, but yeah.
They've got I think what they call a thurible. I can never say the word correctly, but you know, it looks like a microphone. They dip into water. You know, they sling it basically is what they do. It fills this little ball up with water, and I've never seen. And maybe I'm just never been part of enough exorcisms, but I have never seen somebody put it in a spray bottle and spray holy water through an aerosol spray. Yep. That was a first for me. So bravo to Chip.
But it really helps the show move along. That's what I'm all about.
It had me on the edge of my toilet seat.
All right, so we're gonna then after they do that investigation, then they look at the evidence, which is they always review the evidence, and they kind of look at the audio clips. But what I want to jump ahead to, this is another little scene that stuck out to me. So Ryan now again meets with Melvin Williams, the superintendent. I'm going to play the scene where Ryan tells the superintendent the name Lucy kind of was presented. Do you know anything about Lucy? So let me play this real quick, and then I'll offer my commentary on this.
Has anything special happened to you personally, or?
We got in contact with a couple spirits, one named Lucy.
Lucy, you know, that name is known on the compound, Lucy. People have talked about Lucy before.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. The psychic picked up on Lucy, then this box picked up on Lucy.
That's interesting.
Was she a nurse here?
I don't know anything about her. I just know the name.
What's the rumor about her? What would people talk about her?
That she's a ghost.
Okay, so basically, like, they just need to tie in the Lucy thing. But to me, again, to me, it's just like they went into the producers knew that they probably like interviewed people before they ever even went there and were like, tell us some stories. You know what I mean? So that the things that they find can tie into the story. And there was probably employees who were like, yeah, there's this ghost here. We call her Lucy. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's exactly how that just felt watching that. The other thing is you can't see it, but the way it's edited, like, again, and listening, when you listen to things in headphones, you can pick up the differences of things that are recorded later. Like, some of that dialogue was totally recorded later as well. When Ryan says it was picked up by our psychic and a spirit box, like, that was edited later just to help that conversation like piece together and make sense. But it's just crammed in there and just totally feels like, of course that guy wasn't surprised that you heard about a Lucy, because he already knew about Lucy, because they probably told your producers about Lucy before you got there, and that's what it feels like to me.
Or even on that standpoint, they might have filled the Lucy in afterward. You know, maybe that, you know, a version of that conversation happened, and they somehow got to the name Lucy, and then they edited that into the sound box, and then edited the clip of Ryan saying, "We heard the name Lucy." So, it could have been either one of those, but you know, the fact that, I don't know, it seems a little far-fetched to me. I'm with you.
Okay, and so what I want to do left here, I want to start wrapping this up, but there's 3 things left that I want to go over, and then we'll offer our final opinions. But basically, I want to jump ahead now and play the clip when they introduce Lorraine Warren. And it's just typical, just like when they introduce Chip, it's typical Chip. When they introduce Lorraine, the way she just always comes in, and she's like, oh God, oh, this is awful, oh gosh. So I'm going to go ahead and play that, because we can comment on that.
Lorraine Warren to join the investigation.
So it shows Lorraine driving up. Here she is.
Oh, God, no. Oh, God, help us. This is awful in here, honey. It's like these people are actually crying out for help. The demon type thing, that's what I feel here.
Here?
Yes. And the human spirits, they can't escape because of these demonic things that are here.
We're splitting in the teams for...
Okay, I'm going to pause it there. So anyways, that's the introduction of Lorraine Warren. And let me just read back to you the things that she says that kind of fits our narrative. She says, oh God, no, oh, this is awful. It's like these people are actually crying out for help. The demon type thing, that's what I feel here. And the human spirits can't escape because of these demonic things that are here. Do you see how she totally just supports the narrative that was already going on before she came? She just supported even further. Do you see?
Yeah, but again, another very vague thing to say.
But basically, all she did was come in and say what they needed her to say. They needed her to come in and say, there's people crying out for help. They're stuck here because the demons are holding them back. Do you see what I'm saying? Like,
actually, even from that standpoint, if somebody were to call me and be like, hey, just randomly, Chad Kaler calls me on the phone, hey, Matt, I'm going to give you $5,000, right, to just walk in here and say the first ghostly thing that comes to your head, I'm going to say something like that. Mm-hmm. Just so textbook, like, it's just not textbook, because that would require education, but it's just so, you know, like stereotypical ghost story bullcrap.
Yeah. Well, now in her case, they didn't even escape. They didn't even do with her what they did with Chip. They didn't even bother saying, like, we didn't tell you anything about this, right? Like, they didn't even bother showing that, so they're not really even hiding the fact that they may have just told her everything she needed to know and say it too.
Well, she also, the way she said it, I'm feeling that demon thing, makes it feel like she's just solidifying their point.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yep.
So, like, if you tell me that, you know, a taste of bourbon, by the way, the Four Roses is awesome, but if you give me a particular taste of bourbon, I'd be like, oh, yeah, you're right, I can really taste that oak, right?
Yep.
Same idea, I'm just solidifying your point.
Yep. So I want to jump ahead here to the point where it kind of starts getting us to the end of this. I'll briefly mention, I'm going to skip past this, but basically that evening they do a dead time. Dead time is what they call at 3 a.m. Right? In all the episodes of Paranormal State, dead time, echo, Matt, echo, that's our safe word. Dead time is basically, Ryan says at 3 o'clock in a.m. 3 a.m. is like the time where like ghosts and spirits are most active. So that's when they do begin their investigations at dead time. So anyways,